storytelling gold or is it garbage? Come on, tell me what I've gotta know. Is the story being told? Garbage or gold? Hey Disney Afternoon gang, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jake if you're returning, thanks for coming back, and if you're new, I do all kinds of Disney content including subscription boxes, trips, hauls, vintage trivia, movie reviews. If it's Disney, we're doing it, so you're going to want to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next Disney adventure. Alright gang, we are here talking about the new Pixar movie, Turning Red. And you probably are going to guess which way I'm going to land on this, but I'm going to try to back this up a little bit. First, let me say this. This is not a movie for children. And before you react, I don't mean in the way that a lot of people out there are kind of complaining about kids shouldn't be watching it. Let the kids watch it. It's fine. What I actually mean to say is that this is not a movie about adolescence for children. This is a movie for adults looking back on their own adolescence. Kind of a big difference between the two of those things. Frankly, if I was 12 years old watching this movie with my parents or older siblings, I would be completely embarrassed. Adolescence, middle school, it's a miserable time of life. Bodies are changing, minds are changing, ideas are changing, the world is kind of opening up. And the last thing people want to do is analyze it as they're going through it. It's fine as adults, we kind of look back and chuckle, and it's a little bit of a rite of passage because no matter where you kind of land in that, sort of hierarchy of middle school, we all go through the same thing. So there's this kind of universal connection. So as adults, we look back, think, oh, it wasn't so bad, life's better on the other side. Going through it, it's a hot mess. Having taught middle school for almost 20 years now, I've seen it all. And I've always found that the best thing you can do is give them a wide berth to kind of just be weird and explore and try things and discover things for themselves, while also kind of like holding them in place as their little bodies frantically rush around. So I just found this as a cartoon, as a Disney film, sort of unhelpful for young people, or maybe not as relatable, but definitely as an adult looking back, you kind of smile with a little bit of like, yeah, I remember those days. So that's kind of my take on that. I thought for this series, if you remember, if you've been watching this series for a little while now, I usually have 4 or 5 categories that we talk about. And I thought I'd try to narrow the focus a little bit of these, and talk about sort of the one storytelling element that each movie that we're going to discuss kind of uses as its main tool. And then kind of see how they actually use it successfully or unsuccessfully. And for me, Turning Red uses sort of the metaphor analogy tool. It sets itself up as a representation of what it's like to go through middle school. In that realm, it's in the fairy tale, the representational side of things rather than the literal side of storytelling. So Beauty and the Beast is not about Stockholm Syndrome, except to the smarmy people who think that they're smarter than everybody else. It's not. It's about learning to see each other's differences, challenge each other, and watch each other grow. The Little Mermaid's not really about mermaids. FYI, they don't exist, but it's about love transcending barriers of race and gender and culture and creed and all of those things, and breaking down those walls of separation between communities, between groups, between age groups, beliefs, all that kind of thing. Cinderella is not about a poor oppressed girl who goes to the ball and falls in love with the prince. It's kind of representational of anyone who's ever felt oppressed by life, holding on to that belief that good things are coming. It doesn't have to be another person, but just the idea, that good things are coming. Peter Pan, I think you get the point. Peter Pan's not about flying to Neverland. It's about maintaining that youthful quality and spirit within all of us, right? And so turning red sets itself up to be an analogy, a metaphor for growing up. And the way that they set this up in the film is it's a pretty realistic film, which that's okay. You know, we've talked a little bit about the sort of the modern elements of magic, and, you know, Harry Potter exists in the real world, but clearly there's magic and magical elements in that world as well. But it sets it up as a bit of a metaphor in that the first time that the panda is sort of comes out is after the night she sees the guy at the convenience store she kind of suddenly has feelings for, and she's doing the little drawings in the book and stuff like that. And she wakes up the next morning as a panda, and immediately you're thinking, okay, so this creature represents hormones, menstruation cycle, new feelings, new awareness of your body, while at the same time giving, because it's such this giant furry, not ugly, but sort of like, obviously it stands out, giving that feeling that we think that what we're going through is so much more transparent, that everybody must see all of these mixed emotions, all of these physical changes that we're not being able to control, acne, you know, you name it. So it works on both levels, and you assume because she's just kind of had this sort of awakening about how she feels attraction-wise towards somebody, that it's representational of that. What it trips on a little bit after that is it's unclear when it comes and when it goes, except she has to calm herself down, which that idea doesn't quite track if that's what we're talking about. You just can't calm down and, you know, your acne goes away. You just can't calm down and your hormones go away. You just can't, you know, calm down and your bodily functions change. That's not quite how it works. But they're even a little bit inconsistent with that. I thought perhaps that it would be, you know, every time she felt something new, every time her body did something new, every time she grew, every time she saw the boy, etc., that she would pop into this monster because she feels so exposed and so out there, and so out of control of her own body. The film then goes further to say, you know, they talk about the women in the family, kind of this rite of passage thing. So again, furthering the idea that this is representational of youth and womanhood and, you know, all of the things that come with your body changing, that, you know, everyone before you has gone through that, which up until then I was like, okay, we're still a little bit unclear about the rules of when this comes and goes. But then I thought, well, we're sort of unclear about, you know, how it comes and goes when we're actually going through it, right? The body changes, it responds, and you're like, wait, what now? So I was a little bit okay with that. And then suddenly it takes this very sharp corner, and turns into sort of an actual curse, this sort of mystical legend that's part of the family, that's actually unrelated to the idea of growing up entirely, in that the mom can still change into the creature, and that they can choose to let it go, or she can choose to be the panda forever. I'm not sure where they were trying to take this idea, this metaphor for growing up, in that we certainly don't carry all of those elements with us into life, into the rest of our adult life. So I didn't understand why the panda comes out again, because we've set up this idea that it's representational of sort of the hormonal and physical changes of adolescence, of middle school, of youth, right? And so why that applied there, and then why she could choose to live forever in that embodiment. I was unclear as to what that was supposed to mean, other than kind of what it meant in the second half, or not even the second half, in the last third of the film, that she was accepting herself for who she was, whatever that was. She's a furry or something, and so which is great. I mean, that's another great message of being like, well, you don't have to be this thing; you can be this thing, and if that's you, great, that's you also. But that's not the message they set up for this whole thing to mean. So yeah, I think the metaphor doesn't track. I think the analogy doesn't really work. I think they could have been a little bit more on the nose about how and why it works, or at least the randomness of why it works, instead of then trying to make it seem real world, because by introducing it as this like sort of family curse from generations and generations ago, they're actually implying that it only happens to their family. It's only very specific to them, which then makes it less universal in a way as an analogy for all of us going through, adolescence and youth. Which incidentally also, just because it was, a line of women who went through this, it very easily tracked as anybody experiencing these things, because most of the things are universal. Most of those uncontrolled feelings, uncontrolled body changes, it's all universal. It doesn't matter what it is. It just matters that we've all kind of been there. So I was unclear about all of that. And it therefore, it didn't resolve entirely. I don't know. Yeah, didn't love it. That said, I thought some of the characters were very charming. I thought the world in and of itself was actually very charming, kind of a real world. Like I thought about Lizzie McGuire or Pepper Ann. Remember some of those shows that were kind of about, or Recess, that were kind of about the group of kids going through sort of the early parts of growing up together. And I thought it would be a little bit more in line with that, except it didn't quite pay off. I did feel like the animation art design style is getting a little bit repetitive and unoriginal. Like I felt like some of the characters looked like they stepped out of extras from Luca, and I love Luca, but design-wise, they felt like they were just like, it felt like the old MGM Hollywood studio model where, Judy Garland and they would all just rotate these people into these casts, and you would just see all of the same characters and all of the same faces together. This film didn't feel like it had... or maybe not this film, but sort of the last several films have not felt like they've had original worlds or original designs, other than the actual location. Canada, it's not Toronto, it's anyway, up in Canada, or Luca over in Italy. Like, besides the actual location, the world still felt very much the same, and frankly it's a little bit boring. Where if you look at other films, stylistically, Cinderella is very different from The Little Mermaid, very different from Beauty and the Beast, very different from Peter Pan. They all have kind of their own worlds that feel more original to them. That's just my take on it. So down in the comments below, let me know, did you like Turning Red, first of all? Did you think that the analogy tracked for you? Maybe enlighten me on something that I'm missing. I think this is an important topic in some ways to talk about. I also feel very protective of this time period in young people's lives where, I think being there is more important than talking about it, because it's a thing that just has to happen. But share your thoughts down below. I'm really curious to hear. I've sort of avoided watching other people's takes on this for now because I wanted to give my thoughts out, but now I'm going to go watch. I know a few of my friends have done some videos on them, so I'm going to go check those out, and you should too. I'll leave them linked down in the description if you want kind of other opinions, because I know, like my friend Loren over at Castles, Capes, and Clones, he loved it. for as much as we agree, Loren, on so many things, we don't agree on a lot of movies. But I still love you. Anyway, like this video, comment down below. Make sure that you are subscribed so that you don't miss out on any more adventures coming up. And I hope to see you soon on the next Disney Afternoon.